going to talk about a state where conflict has turned into a classic case of frozen warfare. Parties continue to take hard positions and refuse to reconcile differences. The killing of 6 Nagas drew the Naga community into the ethnic fight between Kukis and Meiteis. Now the issue is that Nagas have become a bigger stakeholder in the conflict. Irony is that now Kukis and Nagas are fighting with each other. This time they are not using weapons. Both the communities are using blockades. Blockades are being weaponized. In my earlier program, I had shown that the blockades led to closing of educational institutions as they were found wanting for essential commodities and food. Now Kukis have launched a counter blockade. They want to inflict the same pain on the Nagas. This has become an endless cycle in the state. On this issue, I am joined by P.K. Mishra, former ADG BSF, Professor Xavier, Primao, political commentator. I am also joined by Colonel Shanti Kumar Sapam. Let me straight away go to P.K. Mishra first. So this blockade and now the counter blockade and the vegetables are being burned. I mean, so what more can go wrong in a state?
Yes, Kartikeya, I just could come to know that is this counter economic blockade has started. And it is blockade versus blockade. And the standoff on this national highway. And in fact, the conflict between both Naga community and Kuki-Zo community is expanding. Things are becoming very murkier and very, in fact, it's a volatile situation. The essential commodities are not coming neither to Meiteis, nor to Nagas, nor to Kukis. Things are pretty bad. Earlier, I also told you, Mr. Kartikeya, that the national highway can remain open. Definitely, it can remain open if government thinks so. If they take a decision that yes, we can keep it open, it can. I do not know, having 302 companies of forces, what is happening at Ukhrul, what is happening at Kamjong, what is happening at Kankopi, things are pretty bad. It is not Naga versus Kuki. It is, in fact, all Manipuris are suffering for last so many days, so many months after these 3 Padris were murdered on this Tiger Road. Things are pretty bad. I can well tell you, this economic blockade which has started in 3 places, that's in Kankopi, Kamjong and also in Ukhrul, that has been definitely done because essential commodities were not reaching Kuki areas, and that is how Kukis have come forward in blocking this particular in 3 zones. What can be done by the government, that it is not a question of Meiteis, Nagas or Kukis. We have to use force. I repeat, we have to use force. There is no question of having any understanding as far as essential goods are concerned. Things must run easily on national highway and essential commodities must reach to Manipur.
I'll come to that. How can that be done? Let me go to Professor Mao first. Sir, your opening comments on this counter blockade. I mean, sir, this is amazing. There's a blockade, then there's a counter blockade. Can you unmute yourself, Professor Mao? Can you unmute yourself? Yes. Yes. Have you unmuted yourself? Please unmute yourself. Mr. Sapam, you take the question.
Kartikeya, thank you so much for having me in your show, and thank you to and my salute to both the panelists. What Sir Mishra has said, in addition to that, it's a very sad thing that we are having, this kind of situation in Manipur. I was just thinking, there was a lady driver who came from Tamil Nadu and came to reach Imphal. And the agony she must have come across, a lady driver from Tamil Nadu coming to, this small state, that tiny state. So much of complications, the road conditions are so bad, it's very frustrating. And the groups, basically, I think they must have understood now the Kuki brothers, the Naga brothers, and all these things. Blockade is there on National Highway 2, and the anti-blockade is there in National Highway 202 by the Kuki. So the difficulties, the agony the people are facing, the communities who are facing, as it is, the Meiteis have been facing this blockade since a very long time, since time I came to know. So, as Sir has said, to solve this problem, you cannot be this way or that way. There's a danda zaruri hai. Let's see what's happening in UP. There was when I was posted in Lucknow, Sitapur, a small place in Lucknow, was always in news for some crime somewhere or the other. Now it is absolutely quiet here. So my big salute to the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh. That kind of danda is required here also. It's a small state with a very few population, and you just can't control it. Yeah, it's a very shameful thing. Shameful for the people who are here. The Chief Minister has to take action, and if the Chief Minister is not able to take action, he has to convince the central government at the central process. And as I would say, an example has to be created. Example create nahi karega, this will keep on going on. Chalta hai, hota hai, this keep going like this. And finally, who are the common sufferers? They're sitting on the distinct screen now. They are the people. We are the people who will suffer. So the government has to be very strong.
Okay.
I don't want any kind of this ban. Yeah, the national highway. Imagine that the national highway.
Okay, Mr. Sapam, let me go to ground zero, to Ukhrul, where Mercy Khongsai joins me. She's VP Admin KSO Ukhrul. Tell me why this blockade is happening, Mercy. I want to know, why is a blockade being organized? Everyone gets disturbed. Every supply gets, affected. You were affected. The Kuki-Zo community were affected. Now you have organized a blockade.
Well, Kartikeya, so this is not our first choice. Let me make it very clear. This is not at all the first choice for the Kuki-Zo community of Ukhrul. And if we go a little back, since 8 February, there has been a selective economic blockade implemented against the Kuki-Zos of Ukhrul. At that time, there was the issue was not that large because the people of Ukhrul, I mean specifically to mention the Kuki-Zo people, can still go to Kangpopi or Saikul to procure their essential needs. But after the blockade that has been implemented on NH2 at Senapati and also at Kanglatumbi, we have no choice. And on top of that, the selective economic blockade that has been implemented on the Kuki-Zos have escalated in terms of places, in terms of magnitude. And we have tried all our level best at approaching every concerned authorities. And if you could remember, or if you are aware, on 20th June, the Kuki-Zo of Ukhrul staged a sit-in protest against the selective economic blockade. And that ended with just a verbal assurance from the Deputy Commissioner of Ukhrul. And for a week or so, the people of, the Kuki-Zo people of Ukhrul get minimal amount of essential commodities being transported to them. But 1 or 2 weeks back, this magnitude has increased. There has been an incident where the neutral drivers, the Pangals or the Nepalese who were transporting goods to the Kuki-Zo people were threatened and were assaulted physically. And even now, 2 of them are hospitalized. And it has gone so deep-rooted. People are, coordinating in such a manner that some groups are there at Saizang or Yangang Kopi monitoring the number of vehicles that is passing through NH202. And they are monitoring in such a way that, these vehicles, none of them should be stopped at Kuki-Zo dominated area. It has to reach Sokwao, where the groups who are enforcing selective economic blockade will confirm that, yes, this many vehicle was flying from Imphal to Ukhrul, and all of them have arrived. the Tangkul dominated area. So in that manner, the selective economic blockade was so stringent, and the measures that we have taken, the Kuki CSO working committee, we have approached the DC multiple times, and empty and false promises were no longer, in use for the general public who are suffering for their basic essential needs. This is when we decided that counter economic blockade must be launched, and as I have said earlier, this is not out of choice.
Okay,
We
Mercy.
have been left with no option.
I'll come to you. Let everyone make the point. Mr. Lamjatang Haupik, thank you for coming. Your opening comments. Mercy, you stay with me. Haupik.
Thank you, Kartikeya. Yeah, you see, Manipur geographically cannot be separated or segregated, and Manipur cannot be, administratively also it's not possible to be segregated or administered in a different way. And however, in any forms, even in terms of emotional separation, that is not happening. So the separation of Manipur, the people of Manipur, is next to impossible. Now they are blocking each other. These blockades are just only for a temporary kind of measures only. And these things needs to be understood by the our own people. Now, yeah, it's about highway politics, dominating each other and, trying to block each other. And this will not make, the issues resolve. The core issues is their differences in terms of reserve forest, in terms of, protected forest, and in terms of wetland, in terms of absence of land holding rights, and in terms of pending local self-government autonomous district council elections. And these are the core issues as a tribal. This has to be resolved first. And then only things will get into, when each and every citizen got an equal opportunity, then only things will be fine. Now today, you see who represents whom. Yeah, obviously it's the government. Now, the government of India, the central government, the BJP have devised a formula, one Kuki quota for deputy CM, one Kuki quota for Naga deputy CM. In that way, government of India is bringing a formula so that all the, having a basis that it's a tri-ethnic like Kuki Naga,
the issue is...
up in that way. Now, if you look into it, politically speaking, this needs to be addressed.
I don't know what formula are they working on, but the one thing which everyone had agreed upon in principle is that who gets where in the state should not be decided by CSOs. It's the job of the state. Law enforcement agency.
Since those three groups are complaining that they are not getting equal representation, they are not getting equal opportunity.
Okay, let me take an opening comment from Professor Mao. Finally, he's back. I think that technical glitch has been addressed. Mr. Mao, Professor Mao, am I audible to you, sir?
Yes.
Okay, so your opening
right.
comments on this counter cookie blockade, sir.
Yeah. Well, it is quite natural and logical that the Kukis also have launched their counter blockade. If Nagas have launched, why not the Kukis also launch their counter blockade? I think it is quite natural thing. But what is wrong is, I have reliably learned that the governor and the chief secretary, by violating the Article 154, has practically taken over the power of the chief minister and his council of ministers. As per Article 163 of the Indian Constitution, the governor has to act on the advice of the council of ministers. But what is happening in Manipur at the moment is the chief minister and his council of ministers, their powers have been completely taken over by the governor and the chief secretary. And thereby, even if the escort is there, they are not that effective. Therefore, I think until the president's rule is imposed, the normal constitutional function should be allowed. that is Article 154, should be allowed to function. That should not be violated. And Article 163, that is the governor should act on the advice of the Council of Ministers and Chief Minister. But that is being violated. And I shall agree with some of the predecessor speaker that the security forces have to be a little forceful in not causing harm, but they should be firm, gentle but firm. That has to be there.
That's a strong point. But Mr. Mishra, you have served in Manipur.
Yeah,
They are gentle but not firm right now.
they have to be firm.
I'll come to you, Professor Mao.
The civilian,
Yeah.
they have to be firm. I will agree with that.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Mishra?
Yes, I heard Professor Mao, and he's absolutely correct. They are gentle. And you see, here also, in Delhi, they were gentle also. And you know what has happened being gentle there, what has happened in Delhi. The same thing is happening there. You have to be very firm in your action. Whether it is governor or the Honorable Chief Minister, they have to give very clear instruction to keep national highway open.
But Mr. Mishra, is it correct to compare Delhi with Manipur? Is it correct to compare Delhi with Manipur?
Yeah, the national highway was kept open also earlier. When the government gave the instruction, Honorable Marwaji was then the governor, and on his order it was kept open and by using force and without causing any injury to any civilian, we kept it open. Why can't it be kept open now? Earlier also I told national highway has to be kept open, whether it is Meiteis, whether it is Nagas or Kukis. In fact, whether they cooperate or they don't cooperate, Manipuris must get all essential goods, and in fact, if it is not possible, then of course use Me-17 in emergency and drop all these items at various helipads which are there in other areas. But that is not the alternative. We have to keep it open. We have to use force, not against the use maximum force. We have 302 companies. And I'm very sorry, why can't we use it at Ukhrul and Kanpopi and Sanapati and those areas? It is not only Naga areas or Kuki areas. Wherever the blockade is there, we have to keep it open.
Okay, then let me ask this question to Mercy. Mercy, how long will this blockade continue?
Well, until we see, credible solution, not empty and false promises. Like
what is
we
a
have
credible
faced.
solution?
Credible solution is to, ensure that every community gets their essential commodities equally. There should be free movement. When I say free movement, it should be free, safe, and equal, safe, free movement of essential commodities to all the communities. Now, what is happening, and if I may speak more on this, why the Kuki-Zos have launched this counter-economic blockade is only because of the specifically targeted economic blockade implemented on the Kuki-Zo population of Ukhrul. Or else, if the Meiteis or the Nagas are launching economic blockade, a general economic blockade, for protesting or demanding their own share of justice, that is justified. But here on NH202, we are counter-economic, we are launching the counter-economic blockade only to counter that,
but the whole state is suffering. Mercy,
blockade.
the whole state is suffering.
The whole
entire state is suffering.
But yeah, I agree. The whole state is suffering.
Two wrongs don't make one right.
Absolutely. But when you are left with no other option, what else can you do? Kartikeya sir, when there is a simple economic blockade, I totally agree that the sufferers are the general public. Everyone is suffering. But on NH202, uh, goods are being transported for all the other communities except for the Kuki-Zo. If hundreds of vehicles are plying on NH202 on a daily basis, out of that 100% of the vehicle, 0.1% of the vehicles are meant for the Kuki-Zo communities. But even that 0.1% of the transportation are being monitored, are being targeted, their goods are being confiscated or either burned, or the drivers are being beaten. So our problem is against only those targeted and selective economic blockade that has been implemented on us. Or else we completely agree that economic blockade does no good to anyone.
So, Lamjatang, everyone says that the economic blockade does no one, but this is the first time in a state it is witnessing a sort of a three-way boundary. It's a three-way. It has become. How come it's become three-way?
Yeah. So the situation becomes more clearer. Now the situation becomes more clearer in such a way that the three competing demands. Now Kuki-Zo never talk about separation from Manipur, separation from Imphal, separation from economically, geographically, emotionally. Now they have already started approaching when these, the three competing groups did their level best to block each other. Now the central government, the Ministry of Home Affairs is watching them. They leave it, they don't invite the Sioux group anymore. Who represent the Kuki-Zo people? Okay, you do it. You have your own popular government, you decide. And then now two deputy CM, that is one for Kuki Kota, one for Naga Kota, and one CM. Now they leave it everything to the state. Ministry of Home Affairs does not facilitate anymore. They met the former, IB chief, the Kuki-Zo Council went there and lent their, support, asked him to facilitate dialogue with Meitei and Naga, and Meiteis and Nagas are not reciprocating to that. They approach ISOL, they approach Nagaland Christian Forum. So the Kuki-Zos are in desperate position. So they have, even the people on the ground are now really suffering. Today, Masi Kungsai represent the ground reality. It's not about political anymore. It's about humanitarian crisis. So Kartikeya, one thing we should know is that at the behest of the humanitarian issue, we should not keep on talking the political part which block each other. So my request to the people of Manipur is solution lies within us, and let the state government try to facilitate talks between, the various communities. So this is the only solution way forward ahead.
Mr. Sharma, how would you evaluate the current work of the Chief Minister? Better than his predecessors or worse than his predecessor?
Kartikeya, after listening to all the panelists, and as I have been saying from before also, the state government has to be strong, because this is our problem and we have to solve our problem. We have to coexist, and stupid killing, shooting and all those things should not be done. That is number one. Those things should be done away with, and we all must realize that we have to stay together. Nobody can go from here. We have to stay. We have to share things here. We have to understand this point. Until the time we understand this point, this will keep on happening. This will keep on happening. And as far as the security forces are concerned, the instruction should be very clear. The security forces, what they are supposed to do, the instruction has to be very clear from the government, from the legislators, and things will be at place. But that iron hand is required. Sometimes you have to be very harsh if things are not working.
Last 3 years, everyone says iron hand is required, but I see great reticence on part of the state to strongly enforce certain principles, that you can't block highways, you can't shut down markets, you can't give multiple signals at the same time. There are some rules of the game that have not been followed.
Hey, what I would like to submit over here is, when there is a rally over here, tear gas and all those things keep firing over here, right? On the highway, you can't do it that. You can't do it. The government doesn't do it. Why can't the government do on the national highway? Those people who are... See, when a national highway is blocked, let it be any reason, there's a lot of, difficulties with the common people. The national highways should not be touched for any reason. This is my submission.
Okay, I'll take the closing comment from Professor Mao. 1 minute to you. You said gentle but firm. What is the reason why the firmness is absent?
Well, firmness in the sense, you see, chief minister, deputy chief ministers, or the other cabinet ministers, they are not giving the full constitutional rights and responsibility. The governor, as I told you, governor and the chief secretary, they have taken power, and they are in name chief minister and the chief council of ministers. Therefore, the actual constitutional rights and the Article 154, as I said, have been violated. And maybe the governor is acting on the instructions and direction of the central government. Therefore, that itself is a mistake. So the state government should be given a free hand to...
State as a chief minister, he has a free hand. You know, he should do his job. He's the serving chief minister.
Yeah, this is what I have reliably learned, that they are not having the power. Therefore, as per the power which they should exercise, as per Article 163, that is not there. Therefore, if the security people have taken the power with the direction of the governor, the chief secretary, then they should instruct properly. Otherwise, the security forces are also not.
You know, Professor Mao, as a student of sociology, I fundamentally believe that the power lies with the people of the state and authority to use the force lies with the security. And it is this fine balance which makes a civil society. And I think this fine balance is missing. Power always lies with the people of this country. We are a republic. And authority to use the force lies with our security forces. They are the final arbiter when the force should be required. Problem is, neither of those two vantage points are being exercised properly. Where the security has to be utilized, it's not being done properly. And people have to realize that unless and until they come together, the state cannot be normal. 3 years continuous reporting on Manipur, I believe that, you know, politicians have failed the state. You know, if people fail the state, it will be a tragedy.
Security forces have also to act on the order and direction of the higher authorities, you see.
Okay, Lamjathang, 30 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. This is the creation by the politician. The politician have to resolve this because ultimately they are the government. We don't have any replacement in India.
I think, you know, when sometimes politicians fail, the people need to come together because there is no other way. The people need to come together. But, you know, I really thank you, Mercy. Thank you for joining me from your ground zero. Thank you, Lamjathang Hoke. Thank you, Colonel Sapam. Thank you, Professor Mao. And thank you so much, as usual, Mr. Mishra, for being available for our show on Manipur. Jai Hind and thank you.
Thank you.
So this is all I had in this edition of On Point. On the other side, more news and my colleague awaits you.
A single street in Belfast, sudden act of violence, and within hours, a city was pulled into chaos. What began as a stabbing has now ignited nights of unrest across Northern Ireland. Fresh unrest has erupted in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir with large-scale protests. As the guns fall silent in the Iran war, Donald Trump has opened a new diplomatic front in the West Asia. Not with missiles, not with sanctions, but with a bold demand. Uganda has closed its border with the neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo with immediate effect.
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News 9, English news as it should be.
The battle over India's examination system enters a decisive new phase. The Supreme Court steps in, Parliament witnessing a high-voltage political showdown over the tougher anti-paper leak laws, and we've got an exclusive conversation with CJP's chief spokesperson, Saurav Das, who breaks the silence on the protest, the government's assurances, the trust deficit, and the road ahead for the cockroach Janata Party. We've got law, we've got politics, we've got accountability, all at the center of tonight's discussion and debate. You're watching In Your Interest with me, Kabir Naqvi. First, the top headlines on your screens. Rahul Gandhi's scathing attack on the Union Education Minister, Prahlad Joshi, says the BJP appointed a person who quote-unquote defended rapists, questions why Prime Minister did not choose someone else for the post. Meanwhile, Cockroach Janata Party's chief spokesperson Saurav Das called out Direction 4 of the Supreme Court's order, the interim one that came out today, alleges that in the direction is in direct contradiction with the government's assurance of withdrawing the FIRs of the protesters, calls it unacceptable. The AAIB, the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, informs the Supreme Court that the probe into the Air India Flight 171 crash is not just an in-house probe, but also includes foreign experts. Says the final report will be submitted by October. The opposition and the government locking horns in the House. Tejas Surya defending the anti-paper leak bill in the Lok Sabha, says the centre brought key reforms, including bringing computer-based reforms for NEET, says students want reforms, they do not want politics. On the other side of the divide, Priyanka Gandhi slamming the centre over the use of lathi charge on students. Congress Member of Parliament says you can remove students from the streets, but you cannot silence their questions. Death toll in the protests in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir reaches 31 after Pakistan Rangers fire at protesters in the JAAC rally. Well, today we begin In Your Interest with an exclusive conversation, because over the past few days, one name has dominated the national conversation, the Cockroach Janata Party. And from marathon negotiations with the government and the Supreme Court's intervention today to Parliament debating sweeping anti-paper leak reforms, the movement has now shifted from the streets to the center of India's political discourse. Tonight, we speak exclusively to the man who has been at the heart of those negotiations, Cockroach Janata Party Chief Spokesperson Saurav Das. Many thanks, Saurav, for taking out the time. You know, first and foremost, last night has been a marathon of negotiations with the government voices, with the government representatives. Take us through what happened in the last 13 to 14 hours and where does the current negotiation bull stand?
So last evening, we held a press conference after we had apprehensions that the government may not come good on the guarantees that it had given us and before the entire nation at that press conference, because there were reports from Bihar and other states of protesters being detained and arrested and not being let go, of FIRs being pursued. So we saw that as a direct breach of public trust. And therefore, we held that press conference and we announced that if the government does not adhere to the guarantees by the deadline, which is today, then we will have to resume our protest. We'll give a big call for another round of protests in Delhi. Post that, after a few hours, the government representatives reached out and they wanted to meet. So me and Ratna Singh, the other spokesperson, went and met both the government representatives. At the meeting, they showed us notifications. We were finalizing the language of how this written guarantee will come. And we saw the Bihar government and the Assam government also coming out with those notifications late at night.
That's right.
We were working on the notifications for other states and central agencies the central government would give, and the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi would give for the Delhi police.